Like, I don't know. Let's go. I need some help with my mouth. Okay, great.
This content is intended for mature audiences. Video may contain foul or offensive language. Viewer discretion is advised. If you'd like to become a member of our flight crew or support the channel, check out our Buy Me a Coffee. The link is in the description below. All right, well, welcome back, Pack. This is the first episode of Streaker's Swamp. This episode, we are going to be talking about server balance, what you think is server balance, what I might think is server balance, and just kind of for PvP servers in DCS World. So one thing that I've noticed about servers, and I will be taking, just raise your hand in the stage area here in our Discord. I should probably let me put a invite link to that here real quick, just in case anybody would like to join into that. Get an invite, and I will throw that in the chat here real quick, just in case anybody wants to jump in. Feel free to jump in, raise your hand, and we'll discuss things. But one thing that I've noticed with PvP servers is the balance is always 100% focused around air-to-air fighting, and that's it. If they can't balance it around that, then it's just not balanced at all in most servers' eyes. Don't get me wrong. There are these guys that are making these servers are doing a great job. They really are. It's just my opinions, may differ from theirs and so on and so forth. I can't make a server, but I'm just trying to figure out a way to find a good way to make a really good balanced server. Balanced for everybody, whether it's the fixed wing pilots, whether it's helicopters, whether it's people that just want to roam around in combined arms in a tank or something. We got to figure out a way to balance there. And but so far what I've seen for people for balancing is very rudimentary. It's well, I know this is supposedly a somewhat realistic server, because if you're going to call it a Cold War or an 80s server or a modern server, well, then try and keep the aircraft matched to each side would be my thought process on it, regardless of the balance, because the whole premise of that server is for that type of play. You know what I mean? Everybody knows what they're getting into. Everybody knows when they're joining on red or blue side, what kind of aircraft that they should be in. Another problem that I see, that I've kind of noticed, is a lot of people think that the FC3 aircraft are, not good enough or whatever, so then they'll play the blue side because they want to be in their clickable cockpits or whatever. So it's just all dependent on your preference of aircraft that you want to fly too. Yes, I totally understand that, and I agree with that. I mean, I've got all the helicopters. I fly mainly blue helicopters. I've got, handful of fixed wings that I am just now, after 2 years, deciding to start to learn how to fly. And so there's that. So I mean, we're open to a conversation here, and just to get it kicked off. I mean, if you really want a good discussion going on, otherwise it's going to be just all based off of my opinions, and my opinions are going to be based off of my favorite servers. Yes, I'm going to have pros and I'm going to have cons with both sides, regardless of if a person thinks that I dislike their server because I give it cons is not the case. It's just always a means to try and maybe improve that server to make it even more popular amongst a more diverse crowd of cartoon pilots, because that's what we are too, is we're just cartoon pilots. Very few of us are real pilots that are flying in here, so a lot of the aspects of these aircraft are based on, people doing their little numbers and going back and forth and all over the place and their little charts and stuff. Well, and ultimately it just boils down to the game coding is what it is and what feels real. So I guess that's kind of where that sits. How does the code feel? To me, it feels fairly realistic. I mean, you aren't, it's nothing on a computer game is ever going to be 100% realistic, regardless of how much a person wants it that way. So, it's kind of that, you know what I mean? So if, let's get back into the server balance issue though. So what I see for server balance, like I stated before, is everybody tries to balance the server around fixed wings and fixed wings only. And no matter what, it's got to be for fixed wings. So if you bring up something per se, like I did in the contention server, for a recommendation to help balance it for everybody, was to get rid of the harms, because all we're using is medium range SAMs at the moment anyway in there. So why not get rid of the harms and limit it to, ATGMs that have like a 15-mile radius, so it makes it a little bit tougher for people to actually go in and take them out, and or have to rely on those other airframes to go in and take out those surface to air defenses that have been put up, you know, and just what did you say? Like I say, make it more of a combined arms type thing. I love how their setup is, you know, but it just makes it a hard time for other people to spend their time setting up a bunch of this stuff when it can be taken out with basically the snap of a finger by one or two different aircraft that are available in the game, like the F-16 and the F-18, you know, just kind of 30 miles out, drop your arms, have a nice day. None of the SAMs reach more than 15 miles anyway, you know. So that's balancing it out for the fixed wing air-to-air combat. You know what I mean? Other things like Coop, they've got Coop 80 server. They've got a pretty good way of, yeah, but hey, Triangle, why don't you drop into the conversation here instead of typing in chat? Because I'm actually not going to answer questions out of the chat. They're all going to be coming right here out of the stage if you want to jump in as a guest. So, and I've already addressed that. I already understand that they drop SAMs, but they get taken out with a snap of a finger as soon as somebody knows they're there. And then once more con for, I'm going to go back to contention here real quick. Another con that I just don't really understand is having a timer to make people sit on the ground and not move. Yes, I understand you can taxi, but you can't really taxi on a helicopter with skids most of the time. I mean, unless you want to drag your skids across the ground, maybe. Maybe you'd be able to taxi a little bit without it considering you lifting off. I don't know. I guess I haven't tried. But that's just kind of a hindrance for PvP play, in my opinion. There's plenty of other ways to make it last that 3 minutes that you need to make it last to defuel stuff, you know. I know helicopters they fuel up in a matter of seconds, doesn't matter, but and jets on the other hand is those do take forever, and I understand that. That is a complaint of mine on the Coop 80s server, is they start you off at like 30% fuel, sometimes 5% fuel. It's kind of funny in a fixed wing, and it literally takes like 5 minutes for that son of a bitch to fuel up. So if you want to limit that kind of stuff, like I say, you just, if you want these FC3 aircraft to take as long to get ready to roll as these high fidelities, you defuel them. Because in the Tomcat, if you don't wait for that INS to align, you're pretty well blindsiding yourself. You still can be combat effective, but not anywhere near as combat effective if you take off before that INS aligns. And that in itself takes you, 4 or 5 minutes by the time everything's ready to roll in that thing. One of the things that I see that the Coop 80 server is doing that I feel is a con, I guess I'm not really mentioning the pros, because the pros are just kind of obvious. They're good servers. they're fun to play on. But of course, there's always room to grow and make things more fun, right? So, like with the Coop 80 server, they've got that crate system going along, or the point system for their crates, which pretty much nullifies any usefulness of somebody that just wants to be a utility helicopter pilot. You know what I mean? So basically they force you to go do combat scenarios to get points to be able to do your job as a utility helicopter. And if you use up all your lives, the only thing you can really do is fly utility helicopter. So it's kind of weird there too. You know, that's kind of a complaint of mine on there. And that's my biggest complaint on that server right there is the point system. I mean, there's a reason why you're using the what the hell is that called? Not the inventory system, but whatever. They've already got a limited. Yeah, that flying in the background's just a recording. I'm not going to sit here and BS while I'm trying to fly. But it's just you've already got limited amounts of things that you can put up due to that system in DCS, and to put points on it to try and balance it out even more is not feasible, especially when, you know, like if you're doing ground attack stuff, I think you get like something like 2 points per ground kill or something. And it's like $25 points to deploy a crate of any type or any troops, as a matter of fact. So it's kind of just whatever, you know what I mean? This one I will answer for you, where if people are streaming and they start whining about being stream sniped, that's on them. They're freaking idiots if they're giving away their location on a live stream and they don't want to be attacked in a certain area because somebody knows where the live stream is. Use the intel. Use all the intel that's available to you. That's what I always say. So there's a freebie for answering a question in the chat here. But seriously, what are your guys' thoughts on actual? How are we supposed to make a actual balanced server, not just for one, not for one airframe, but for the entirety of the community? Well, I don't even call that a balance. Removing weaponry is not a balance. Like I've been getting a lot lately, you know, with my jet pilot skills is the get good, you know, which I think is bullshit. Especially when somebody's just starting to learn a airframe you know, whatever. That's one thing about DCS that used to be really cool to me, is people weren't just a bunch of dicks that, you know, were all concerned about their stats, you know. But I've been noticing lately that that's kind of how this community is starting to turn, is stats. Look at my stats, you know. Nobody gives a fuck about your stats, dude, except for you, you know. So in any case, yeah, see, and that's weird, because on my shit, I hardly ever see helicopters on my data link, you know. Every once in a while, I'll pick things up on radar that are on the ground there, but pretty typically it's they just don't show up, for me at least. But then again, you know what? I'm new to the fixed wings. You guys got this shit down, so. You are correct, Triangle Pilot. It is almost impossible to make everybody happy. It really is. But like I say, you need to figure in balance. And what's balance? Balance isn't, let's keep the airways as clear as possible for the fixed wing pilots. You know, yes, like, I understand. Yes, you can. The helicopters put down SAMs, and then the second that the opposing team knows there's a SAM site there, within 5 minutes, 7, 8 different freaking things can be taken out within 5 minutes, you know. And all of that takes a lot longer than 5 minutes to set up, I'll tell you that much. So here's kind of my thoughts, seeing as nobody really wants to jump in and have their voice heard. I'm not seeing anybody raising their hands anyway. Here's kind of my thoughts on balancing a server, which NASA actually did state it pretty good. When he on a lot of things that he said, when he said he wasn't going to be able to make it, but that's when I was going to do Monday night. NASA had said, assign aircraft to the side they belong to, yes. Set missiles on aircraft based on the year the mission is set, yes. Balance the mission to the plane set is not the other way around. To balance the mission to the plane set is not the way to do it, which is true. If the opposing side has less capable aircraft, well, then they will get more capable surface-to-air sites. In which that allows players to ultimately just have a rough time. I mean, it ain't supposed to be easy where it's just, here, I just want to go out and I just want to shoot down other planes. There's 100 servers out there for you to just go shoot planes down, you know. And if that's what you want, if you want like a dogfighting server, go to a dogfighting server, you know. So basically, I guess how I would do it, I mean, even if it's possible as a means to do it for a if it is possible to do it, hang on, Cold Claws, I will put you in here in just a moment. But if it is even possible, which it should be, I do believe within the game coding, to make servers so that you want to balance it out. Okay, you do what we were saying there, where helicopters are concerned. I know that we don't have the big, huge transport helicopters, and we don't have the most realistic way to transport certain items, but my thought process is, because it's already unrealistic as it is, so if you're going to have a crate system, if it takes 5 crates like a Hawk site, yeah, it takes 5 crates. If it takes 1 crate for something, say an M1 Abrams, yes, I understand it's huge and heavy and unrealistic, but so is carrying 4 or 5 crates to get it there and load it up in these helicopters. However, very unpopular opinion here, and I'm not that great at sling loading either, but everything must be slung load, and everything that is a single unit is 1 crate. If you want to set up a Hawk site, it's going to take you 5 trips. If you want to set up an M1 Abrams, it's going to take you 1 trip. A Roland, 1 trip. You see what I mean? But with that being said, let me get Cold Claws set up here for jumping in. Da-da. See. I was almost thinking about changing the topic on this due to the big uproar with the F4 going on right now, but I ended up sticking with this. All right, Cold Claws, you are set up whenever you're ready to pop in there.
Hello? Do you hear me?
I can hear you, and I'm hoping everybody else can hear you. Everybody else in the chat, can you hear Cold Claws?
You guys hear me? My volume is low. Is it too low?
I'll turn you up on my end a little bit. You're fine.
Okay. I mean, I can hear myself fine. Test. Wait. Okay. All
right. What do you got, Cold Claws?
So we're talking about like a balanced PvP server.
Yep.
Okay. We've recently been, only playing contention recently. Yep. And you were talking about
it's a good and a fun server, don't get me wrong,
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not bashing on any of the servers or the server makers. I'm just trying to figure out a way to make them even more fun, for everybody. So go for it.
The chat is saying they can barely hear me. Okay. I mean,
let me crank that up. Try it again.
Hello, can you guys hear me? Like, I have my input volume like all the way up, and when I'm in Discord calls, people usually don't have trouble hearing me.
Right. They had me turn the Discord sound down for my videos, so I just cranked you all the way up to the max here. So.
They're saying it should work now.
Yep.
Okay. Well, okay. So you first mentioned like the helicopter like problem. I mean, well, not the helicopters are problem. It's like that server's like. I mean, helicopters get shafted and like on the server basically a lot of the time, which I don't really see how you can like fix that, because like I mentioned in the comments, like the SU-27's like data link, it's like hacking, like it's crazy how well you can see, and like I mean I don't see it much now, but I haven't been playing on the server like much, but I constantly hear like helicopter players like crying how like they can't do anything on the server because like the jets are just so like modern and advanced. Like and again, I don't know how you can solve that. I think it's just kind of like a reality, and if anything, if you think about it, it's actually kind of like realistic because you really don't want to be sending in like helicopters on the front line unless you have like air superiority.
Right.
Like so, like I mean, like that's just kind of like basic doctrine.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. And we all know that that just doesn't happen on servers. Even when people plan on covering you for crap, it doesn't end up happening that way, you know.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, whether they get squirreled by having to chase people or whatever, you know. But there are a few things that you can employ in that aspect, and that would be the use of letting helicopters drop man pads in a limited number, not where they can spam, 1,000 throughout the entire freaking thing, but have an availability of 10
That's
or
kind of
15 or whatever, and if there aren't 10 or 15 that are currently actively deployed, not destroyed, then you can grab them from the FARP or whatever when you're grabbing troops.
But what contention does is like I guess they realize that helicopters just like get shafted by planes like really brutally, which is like so they give the helicopters in exchange they give them a really strong mechanic because the helicopters being able to
Right.
sling like man pads the forward artillery command like that's a really powerful thing. So like I guess like it's like some weird like League of Legends like balancing where like
Right.
every character has like a really overpowered like mechanic, and it's just kind of like weird. Like I'm not really a huge fan of the FAC thing because like it's because it's like every player, every different airframe has to like min max and all in on that one overpowered gimmick that they have, and it just becomes like very like meta gamer-y.
Right. See, and where I would kind of balance that gameplay out would be if you don't have a artillery unit that you deployed within range to shoot something like that, then you don't have artillery available to you. You've got your smoking available to you. You can smoke them so that you can let other players know that they're there. I mean, I feel that FAC is actually pretty overpowered for the helicopters too. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I can.
Sorry, I gotta be. Give me 30 seconds.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, that's what I was trying to convey there. Is the teamwork is the real issue, and the problem is nobody forces the teamwork. I don't agree that we should remove FAC, but it should be changed up.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I had to.
Yeah, go ahead.
I had to bring my dog upstairs because she's getting kind of old in age.
Oh, gotcha.
But it's fine. Okay, I'm back.
I get that. So where FAC's concerned, I don't see smoking as a problem, so that you give a visual cue for your people with the ATGMs to go in and take out a target. I don't see artillery as a problem as long as but as long as somebody on your team has personally deployed a artillery unit that is in range of that. But just to have some magical artillery shell drop in on somebody from 100 miles away is kind of I don't like that either myself. Do I use it? F yeah. Damn straight I do. Where it comes to lasing, yep, as long as you can keep your eyes on the target, you know, if you dip down below trees or whatever, your laze is going to break. You know what I mean? Stuff like that is, and I don't know if that's something you can do in DCS in the scripting to make something like that work. You know? If you get my meaning there, Cold Claws.
Yeah, no, I'm following.
I mean, don't you feel that would be a lot more teamwork centric for one, you know, and for two, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I currently think that Contention kind of like does it like to the best they can, because like nothing is going to change helicopters getting just destroyed by airplanes unless like you have like organized cap, kind of like how I did it in real life. But you know, DCS players, me included, don't really want to fly like in a simulator like way the airplanes were intended to fly. I kind of just like, we just want our fast like action dopamine like kills, like kill kill kill, League of Legends, you know, double kill, triple kill. Yep. Like that's kind of just like what DCS players want. So like the helicopters having like, because they do have pretty strong mechanics, that just like it just gives them something to do. Because if you would like nerf like, I don't know, the FAC or whatever, or like the man pads and stuff, like what are you going what are you going to do to planes? Like I don't think you can remove their data link. Like are you going to make it a guns only server or whatever? Like you might as well just play like World War II then. So that's like my opinion. I do want to say like, I think Enigma's does it very well, the helicopter versus plane balance, especially now that GCI is kind of perma-broken. Helicopters do not get like destroyed anywhere near as hard. They still do. They still do. Don't get me wrong. They still do.
Right.
But anywhere near as hard as they do in Contention. And I mean, I think especially for Red, like the meta like way of winning campaigns is like helicopters through the hip, not the Hind. The Hind's honestly overrated. The hip's troop drops.
Right.
It's like really good, but I don't think it's overpowered because they did nerf it now, which I don't even think is like a bad thing. I mean, I guess maybe it's like kind of like boring because I've spent hundreds of hours in the MI8 hip, like just winning campaigns on ECW over and over again.
Right. Yeah, and like us, we're too busy hunting for other helicopters when we're on ECW to push a line. So, you know, so that's kind of what we use ECW for, is helicopter on helicopter PvP. It is fun in the rare occasion that you get to run across a helicopter on Contention.
Streaker.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk to Enigma right now? Enigma himself.
Hell yeah.
He's in the audience. He's in the audience right now.
Yeah. If he wants to jump in, go ahead. Frickin' raise your hand and
Enigma,
jump right
if you're
on
here,
in.
like, raise your hand. Like, there's a thing called raising your hand. It's like I can't explain it. Like unmute music, turn on camera. There should be a raise your hand button in that area. So I think you have to raise your hand so he can move you in. Like next to like there's
there it is. There it is. All right. Well, with that being said, I'm going to boot you out for right now, Cold Claws.
Okay.
And switch it over to Enigma so that I just have one in at a time so that we aren't all talking over each other. It's too easy for all of us to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm going to... How in the hell do I move you? Oh, boy. Move to audience. There we go. All right. There's Cold Claws. Sorry about that, everybody. Their Cold Claws is moved. I'm going to throw Enigma in here in just a moment. And this will be the guy that, because he's been working on servers long enough, that he will be able to explain a lot of stuff to us also. And get Enigma in here. and invite to speak. So whenever you are ready, Enigma, go ahead and accept. And welcome to Streaker Swamp here. And I'm going to love hearing all your input, just right from the horse's mouth, you know, on somebody that has an extremely popular server.
Hello.
Well, what are your thoughts on what we've got going on here so far, Enigma?
What I tuned in. I joined. I don't know, like 15 minutes ago. You guys were talking about helicopters or something. But I saw one of your guys' videos on this thing. I forget which one it was. It was like maybe a month or two ago, and there was a discussion. I forget exactly what it was about, but just the things you guys were talking about. I was thinking to myself, I was like, oh, if they do this again, maybe I'll offer to jump on just to help clarify some things. But so that's kind of really what I'm doing. I don't really have anything I want to say particularly, but more just to be a wall as you throw your tennis ball against it to see like what comes back.
Right. So where do you see, seeing as I know it's not your server, but we were talking about contention there. What do you think could kind of balance out contention a little bit more, just overall, you know, overall? And I'm not picking on contention here. I love contention server. I love Enigma's server, and I kind of like the Coop 80 server. The only problem I have with them is their crate point system. But I digress. Go ahead, Enigma.
I don't really feel like I have a strong opinion on the contention server with their balance. I don't really pay attention to it too much in terms of like what they're tweaking or not, because I just go on there to fly the Mirage 2000 just to airquake. Like I don't think I've ever spawned a helicopter on there or ever attacked a ground target. But
gotcha.
But with that said, if you want to see where RSR could potentially go, sorry, not RSR, contention could probably go, is there was a server in 2018, maybe 2019 called RSR, Red Storm Rising. And it basically was more or less one for one, like what contention is. And a lot of the things that I've noticed that like contention people have been talking about in terms of like what they want to do is like exactly one for one. A lot of the discussions that happened in RSR, like a couple of years ago, like or more than a couple of years ago, but like 5 years ago or 6 years ago, it's because like the formula has been done so many different times in so many different ways. Like the CTLD thing, which personally I detest, but I understand that a lot of people do like it. And Blue Flag has done it, DDCS has done it, RSR did it, Coop has it. There's another server that does it too. But it's a big format that a lot of people like. But at the end of the day, I think Claus was kind of saying this earlier. The little part that I caught is that like no matter what you do, you're just like putting up lipstick on a pig, which is DCS, right? And like there's only so many things that you can do with it, and you're really limited because like no matter the CTLD servers, like they're all caught up with the problem with like, people want to build shit and move things around and it fucking lags, and that's not their fault. It's just the problem of the game. The only server that's been able to get around it is DDCS, and that's because they figured out a way to move a lot of the processing into a completely different environment that's outside of DCS, and they inject it back in, and that's how they get around the lag.
Oh wow. Yeah, I knew that a lot of the issues come from, too many units being spawned or whatnot. So I was pretty impressed. Was it a week or two ago on contention? Somebody had spawned this big, huge convoy, and I thought for sure it was just going to kill the server, and it actually didn't. So I was pretty impressed there. So maybe DCS is starting to improve upon itself in this 2.9 stuff.
Yeah, the good thing about contention is that there hasn't been a RSR replacement in years. So the fact that someone has done it again is like good, because the whole CTLD space, like a lot of people do like it, but there's a lot of servers that do it, but a lot of the servers that do it kind of really overlap with each other quite heavily in terms of like being more, air quotes, hardcore. So it's good that there's like a more casual server that's doing it.
Right. Yeah, and that they are, and I'm beginning to understand this stuff more and more with all the talking and going back and forth with people, and just having either heated discussions or regular discussions, and that's exactly how a person figures all this stuff out. And that's why I kind of wanted to throw this podcast out there with this topic, is just so that we can all get all that kind of stuff out in the open in a less hostile environment, because we can all, it's oh so easy for people to start keyboard warrioring it, to include myself, so it's a lot less apt to happen when people are actually just having a discussion by voice. So
yeah, but it makes sense. I really do think deep down the game is actually really bad. So, and people consume the content faster than they can create it. So like, no matter the server, but like the amount of time it takes to make something, players are going to chew it up and spit it out way faster than it takes to make. So modules take a long time to make, content gets consumed faster than it can be made. The game's constantly breaking, and it just increases the maintenance time. So it's just a recipe for like players to just get like annoyed or frustrated, and like what eventually happens is people just like start bickering with each other on Discord. So I just see it as a natural thing of what's happening to the game, because you'll notice when the F4 comes out, the amount of bickering that's going to happen is going to calm down. A lot more players are going to come back. On all the servers are going to be full. Everyone's going to have fun for 2 months, and then it's going to go back to bickering.
Oh, and they'll be bickering about, well, this don't work right with the F4. That don't work right with the F4. So it's just a never-ending process. We know it. Well, is there anything else you would like to add to that, Enigma?
No, I don't really have a point of view on that question, really. I see it more as a question just generally across the whole CTLD thing, but not necessarily for like one server. I think it's all kind of like the same boat.
Right. And you know what? I started out multiplayer servers. Yours was pretty much my first multiplayer server that I played on. I mean, I jumped on GR's multiplayer server like once or twice before that, but yours was the first one when it very first came out, and I played that to death, to where I started getting bored with it. You know what I mean? And rightfully so, and that's kind of why I turned more into I want the CTLD stuff and all that other stuff. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't understand how people can play the same server for thousands of hours and like not get bored. Like, I get bored of any server that I play for more than a couple of, I don't know how many hours it takes, but there's some sort of threshold where like after a while you've done it all. So I mean, I get it.
Yeah, and then it just becomes, even though DCS in itself is just repetitive as it is, it just becomes even more apparently repetitive the more you play on the same server. So well, with that, I'd like to thank you shit ton here, Enigma, for jumping in here and giving us your thoughts.
Yeah, sure.
And if there's anything you would like to talk about with your server, feel free before you decide you want to stay on the stage here or get off, either way. And I guess that's about it. I mean, because I think we have covered pretty much a good majority of things here tonight.
I don't really have. Like I said, I didn't really have anything that I wanted to say particularly. I watched the last one and I saw a discussion and I was like, oh, I kind of wish I was on to clarify. So I just decided to hop on because Claus told me this was going on, or actually Random told me this was happening. But no, for our server, there's anything really different going on. We're just waiting for the F4 to come.
Right. I guess I do have one question about your server. Because a couple of the guys have asked me even. So when you got your hexagon and then you got your rectangles going on, is that rectangle thing something that you're maybe planning on changing it to, or is that just like your intermediate server that you were talking about in between missions?
So, so the way that I don't know. We're experimenting. So technically, we can make any shape that we want. It just needs to have 6 sides. So the squares are technically not squares. They have Igloo actually came up with it. He drew a square, but it actually has 6, or a rectangle with 6 sides because it has like a little bit of an edge to it on the corners.
Yep, I think I noticed that. Yep.
Yeah, so we can make stars if we want or whatever. We can really originally what we wanted to do was make the shapes kind of follow like rivers or cities and stuff. But the problem with that is there's not a lot of space to put trigger zones. So if you imagine a hexagon, what we do is we put spawn points or possible spawn points as trigger zones in every single side, and we say like, spawn north 2, spawn north 3, and then also or sorry, not north, but spawn top 1, spawn top 2, and then we do the same thing on the next corner, right? Spawn top right 1, spawn top right 2, and then we just do right, then bottom right, bottom left. And that's how we get the whole thing. So that's how the server knows where to spawn units, and the code knows which sides are bordering the enemy side. But when you're making the mission, each side of each hexagon has 20 spawns. So the math gets pretty crazy because there's 20 spawns per side. There's 6 sides? It's 120 spawns.
Yeah.
And there's 30 hexes. So that's 3,600 spawns, trigger zones that have to be hand placed by people.
Oh, Jesus. Right.
So,
right.
So it just gets really out of hand really quickly. So that's why sometimes you'll see like a stupid unit being spawned like in an olive branch or an olive garden, like a, what's it called? Like an olive tree farm.
Yeah, like an orchard or something.
Orchard, that's the word. Thank you. And it's just because me or someone else is on like, trigger zone number 2,522, and they're just trying to do it quickly, and it's just like shit like that happens. So we do want to experiment with the shapes more. Actually, I think I like these squares a little bit. I think they're kind of interesting. I don't know if you have a preference.
I actually like the rectangles myself. Yep. I like how that setup is better than the octagons, but I do like the octagons better than your original style.
Yeah, I didn't like the original, the dominoes. I feel like that got old really fast.
Yeah, it was just an extremely long area to cover too, to try and find things and destroy things and whatnot.
If I had to pick a shape for all of them and just stick with it, I think I would probably go with these weird rectangles now. I think this is like probably a better shape, I think.
It almost gives it a cleaner look to me on the map also. Just for my visual acuity here, it almost gives like a cleaner look than even the hexagons do. Yeah.
It's interesting. I don't know. We could do other stuff. I mean, technically, we can do any shape. It's just placing all those trigger zones. I mean, Igloo got like yeah, I don't know. He did this last one. It just takes a lot of time. It's a lot. So we have the PG one done already. So we're just waiting for that 4 to come, and then we'll release that one.
Okay, roger that. Roger that. So I'm taking it, seeing as is the F4 going to end up on the red side then for the Persian Gulf one, seeing as that's Persian Gulf supposed to be your more modern one, right? Like 80s or whatever.
It'll be blue.
Okay. All right.
It has to be because it'll be a mess if we don't. It wouldn't be fair. It wouldn't be fair. I don't know. I mean, because if we had the F4 red, then what's blue going to have? The F5, and that's it. It's the only thing that you could do is if you try to do it around Iraq, but then who's red or who's blue doesn't really matter. But it's just blue needs the F4, and it'll help. I think it'll be a nice addition. So we'll see.
Oh, I figured you'd just throw the Tomcat in at that point as a regular plane, is what I was kind of thinking, instead of a points plane.
Yeah, but the thing is, I feel like every server has the Tomcat, so yes, it is time appropriate, but the thing is, it's that literally every server has it. It's ubiquitous in the game, and at some point, if everyone has it, to me, it's not particularly interesting. And we don't know what the F4 is going to have. We know what the F4 is going to have, but with DCS, every time a module comes out, you're just flipping a coin. You don't know how shitty it's going to be or how good it's going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you kind of you have to have to plan for the worst.
Yep. And most times upon release, modules are going to come out somewhat sloppy. Even no matter how well the developers think that they have them set up, once they get into a live environment, they break in ways that they never expected them to.
Yeah. Anyways, I need to hop. I told Claus I only had 10 minutes, but
Roger that. Thanks for jumping in, Enigma.
Yeah, I'll see you.
All right, have a good one. All right, well, there is that. If anybody else has anything else to add, you are more than welcome to jump on in. And we've got our next person right here. And that next person will be Cold Claws again. And we'll pop that back up in there and invite. You are invited. You are ready to roll there, Cold Claws.
Awesome.
What did you have to add?
I just want to share. Okay. Well, since Enigma was here, I guess Enigma was kind of the topic, the server. I know. I want to talk about that a little bit, the server.
Okay.
Recently, okay, how do I say this? I got banned from Enigma's Discord recently because I kept spamming over I was mad that the R60 got removed on the Syria mission set.
Okay.
I was upset with that. The MiG-21's R60, not the Hind's R60M. The R60, it's the rear aspect only. R60M is all aspect.
Right.
Because recently there was a huge patch on ECW, a huge change, and I think overall it was a very good change. I mean, because a whole bunch of stuff just got overall nerfed, and the more nerfed things get, I think it's good.
Yeah, you know what change I noticed, that because I just happened to jump in a Hind that day, is when we were on the Caucasus map. The only thing that they had was unguided rockets that they could load on their pylons.
It was actually worse than.
I thought that was cool as hell.
It is, but it was actually worse than that because they didn't have S8 rockets like there's like the S5 rockets, which are like very small and like crappy, and there's the S8 rockets, which are more modern. Like those actually did end up getting added, but and
Right.
I want like I mentioned like the MiG-21's R60, and I was like very upset that that got removed, and that ended with me getting terminated from the Enigma's Cold War Discord.
Right, and you know those things do happen. You know, I mean it's unfortunate. You know what I mean? So.
I mean, though I do want to say like I wasn't talking. Can you guys hear? I wasn't talking out of my ass. Okay, well like wait, like I was not like talking like because the Syria missions he tried to go like really all in on like historical like accuracy. That's why the Syria mission, the Syrian missile set was called the 1970s. It was called 1970s. So it had weapons from the 1970s. Caucasus was called 1960s. But then if you look on Wikipedia, the R60 was actually invented in 1970, not like 79. 1970, and that's not in Syria. We're stuck using this R13M, which is like it's actually newer than the R60, but it's still like worse overall. So we have like the oldest missile in like the 1970s era is like it isn't there, like because currently it's AIM-9P, R13M, the Mirage F1 gets to AIM-9J. Like all of these missiles they're all 70s missiles, but they're newer than the R60. And just the R60 is just really good, so it's just not there, which is it goes against the historical like accuracy. I mean, it goes against the historical like realism like balance, and that was the thing that upset me. And I was also saying we could just like. Instead of this, we could just remove the Syrian missile set entirely. Like, I was very big on this of just like permanently removing the Syrian missile set because these like really like cancer missiles which have like 30G overload, which you can't dodge if you get behind them. I mean, it's just like really like dumb, unskilled gameplay. They just like help like newbie like. I mean, you don't have to actually BFM better, like because. I enjoy like the Caucasus missile set so much more, where the missiles only have a 10G overload versus like the R60's 30G overload, or the AIM-9P's like 20 something with the uncage, and because it can uncage, the R60 can. The R60 can't uncage, but the AIM-9P can uncage. So and it also has like a better like tracking aspect. So the point is, both of these missiles are like really like strong and good, and it makes like just fights like not fun. Like, you kind of just have to like. Keep running away and wait until you're in a 1v1 because you can't fight outnumbered like you kind of can on Caucasus. So, but like, and I would keep saying like, hey, we should remove the Syrian missile set, and then like the entire community was just like, shut up, like you're stupid, stop talking, like.
Well,
I don't know.
I hear that. I mean, it's if people want to keep something or don't want something in, that's when they're going to be. You know, talking like that in any server, you know, it doesn't matter. If it's something that they don't want, they're not going to agree with you and they're going to fight with you on it. If it's something that you regardless of how much, you know, validity you throw towards it, you know, and you and I both need to just kind of accept that, you know what I mean? Because that was like me with in contention with the harms and stuff. You know, everybody wants them. Me personally, I call that easy mode for the fixed wings, but that's just my personal opinion. You know, and because I am always, like we were talking earlier here, trying to get this more of a cooperative gameplay and not just, hey, if I have the right aircraft, I can just beat this whole fucking map by myself if I want. You know what I mean? And then just call in stuff with points, you know. So that's kind of what I'm getting. That's where I'm kind of talking with server balance, like NASA had mentioned earlier. I think you mentioned it too. You know, it's just more of the teamwork, but like you even stated, where it comes to teamwork, everybody just wants to go in there, do their own damn thing, shoot up some shit, and frickin' call it a day. You know, I mean, I get that too. Now, when it comes to teamwork and fixed wing with me, I'm such a noob, I can barely tell where the fuck I'm at on the goddamn map at any given time, you know? So
that's another thing. I've actually argued to remove the F10 ownership view, so you can't see yourself on the map, just to like allow for like even more, just so people can actually learn how to use their airframes. Because like,
no way,
people.
man.
I mean, just learn.
No
learn.
way.
Like,
I hate that shit. I used to be really good at land nav in the Army, but you know what? I don't want to deal with terrain association looking at a map when I'm moving Mach 1, you know,
well,
or even at 100 knots, you know.
Well, you're not alone in that regard, because if F10 were removed, DCS, that server would just implode, which is sad, because in IL-2, like the World War II game, you rarely have F10 ownership, and those are World War II planes where you had to navigate with like a stopwatch and compass, versus like here, like you almost have a GPS. Like you basically almost have GPS.
Well, I've
like,
noticed I've noticed that on any World War II server I've jumped on, just to throw my 109 in there that I own every once in a while. They never have F10 map.
Yeah, good.
You know?
And but the funny thing is like the more modern planes, even the Mi-8 and the Huey have like advanced like Doppler or radio beacon navigation modes. Like World War II planes do not have anywhere near the advanced systems as like modern as jets do.
Yeah,
like, the
for
jets on the
ADF
F10,
and stuff.
and the World War II planes don't have like don't have it. It's just I was just kind of sad. And some people say, "Oh, but FC3 can't navigate." Yes, yes it can. You can literally hit like left, like you press 1 for nav mode, and you press like left, like left shift, like
don't you have
tilde,
to
or like
don't you have to put in the nav points, the wave points in the mission editor though?
I don't have to. I mean,
is there a way that you can put them in prior, you know, your own bespoke?
I mean,
waypoints.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. All I know is I don't need any like F10 or like mission editor waypoint to navigate in the SU-27. You just press 1 for nav mode, and then you do like left shift, like it's the tilde thing. It's next to the 1. You just until you get like an airfield that's like close to you, and the number will like show up on your HUD, so like showing how many kilometers away it is. Like,
I just hit the F10 map and fly towards it.
I mean, so whatever. What else? I don't.
Whatever he says.
I also, since we mentioned contention, earlier you mentioned like that airplane should be on the same side. I mean,
he's the people's villain. He ain't the people's champion, by the way. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
I think he was being sarcastic. But
I just had to clarify that.
Of course. Well, like you said that airframes should be on their side that they were historically. That's what you said earlier in the podcast. And
yeah,
it does sound like a good idea, like in theory, but the problem is that would just kill a DCS server, because if you only had like contention would be a PvE server if it was F-14, 15, 16, 18, and Mirage 2000, because that was France's plane in the 80s, like versus like what, the SU-27, MiG-29. The suit, it can't be the Su-33. Su-33 is like 90s. It's
right.
Like, and plus,
yeah.
like,
so the 80s is just more so
like
weapon set.
Like the Russian planes, like they aren't like. I mean, I guess they can. I mean, I really hate I think the Sparrow was like a lot better than the R-27, but I mean, I guess they can like compete in an air-to-air level. But the problem is most people just don't want to fly their like just they don't want to fly FC3 planes. They think FC3 is stupid. FC3 is bad. FC3 is overpowered. When in reality, that is not the case. And FC3 is better than so many DCS modules. It just you can't click the cockpit, or it's and it's also the elephant in the room. No one wants to fly evil Russian planes. I mean, even though it's a video game.
No, I mean, to be honest with you, when I first started out flying the FC3 planes, seeing as, I mean, well, they're the only Soviet aircraft there are, the first ones that I set up was the 27 MiG-29 and the Su-33. And I started flying those on like Coop and I don't know, some other servers when I'd fly red, So
it's like,
but of course, on the contention server, I typically tend to use certain servers for certain sides that I'm going to play on. For the most part. To really emphasize my statement, I'm currently in the DCS server browser right now, and I have contention opened. Right now, it's 19 versus 16, blue versus red, and like so. Blue, I mean, it's basically it's even 19 versus 16, basically even, but blue still slightly outnumbers red. And then on the red team, there are currently 5 F-16s on red team, right?
2 Mirage 2000s. There's only one MiG-29. There's one MiG-29. So there's only in one J-11, which is the Chinese Su-27, and one JF-17. But like there's only like 2 like Russian jets or Soviet Chinese-ish jets, and then I guess JF-17 as well. But then there's 5 American F-16 jets, and this is only on the red team.
Right.
And then you go on blue team, and there's 6 Apaches. There's 3 F-14s, 3 F-15s. You got Hornets. So like, if you put the F-16 on its historical side, you would literally only have the Mirage 2000. You would only have 3 players. It would be 45 or 40 something versus 5 players. So that's just what would happen.
Right. So
matchmaking.
So I've got the F-16 right for one of my planes. Don't know how to use it, of course, but to be honest with you, if it was on the blue side, that's what I'd be flying the entire time, because that's what I bought it for, was for the dogfighting, for the air-to-air combat. I had no interest in learning it for air-to-ground combat. If I wanted something that I like that, I mean, yes, eventually I would learn it after I learned the plane, but that was the whole reason I chose that over the F-18 or the F-15E when I was going through it. I was just like, okay, this is the most capable for air-to-air combat. So that's why I went with that one. And then it's on the blue side, on the red side, and I'm like, I don't want to fly the red side for whatever reason on that server, Yeah. But on Coop, I want to fly the red side. Go figure, right?
Oh, I also want to mention Triangle Pilot mentioned, he said, it would be cool if the MiG-21 could be more relevant there, as a full fidelity red plane. In the comment section, which is true. The MiG-21, technically, the MiG-21 is it's Russia's, Soviet Union's most advanced full fidelity module in DCS. Which, just imagine if,
right, until the Fulcrum comes out, until the MiG-29 Fulcrum comes out. But
who knows when it comes?
Yeah, whenever it comes out.
Imagine if you would do the Lua hacking. Because on Enigmas, they used to Lua hack the AIM-9B in the R3S on the Su-25 and the A-10 because they didn't carry them. You would just hack them on. Imagine if you would, I don't know, Lua hack the R-73 on the MiG-21. I mean, the Cubans did it.
The server would do it that way?
Yeah, so imagine if they would hack R-73s on the MiG-21. I mean, it's not even it's not even unrealistic. The Cubans did put R-73s on their MiG-21. They might still even do it.
Because didn't they Lua hack the harms onto the MiG-29 or something like that?
Yeah,
on contention?
They Lua hack harms on a MiG-29, which that's a 2022 upgrade.
Right.
Like that is a Russia-Ukraine war like upgrade, but Lua hacking R73s on a MiG-21 is like too much of a stretch. And if
Right.
anything, that could like balance out the Harrier a little bit because the Harrier is kind of a controversial module in contention.
I don't see how. I mean, I own it. I guess I don't know how to fly it for shit. So
it's controversial because I mean it can like spawn at FARPs. I think it can spawn at
Yep.
FARPs. I don't see why it wouldn't.
Yep. And
And
that's why I bought the Harrier over the A10, to be honest with you.
I mean,
But, go ahead.
it's a good plane made by a good module maker, Razband.
Mhm.
But like the problem is, it starts up very quickly, and so people just got, I don't know, upset and butthurt that the Harrier can just start up super quickly and just do whatever it wants. So they added the takeoff rule to like pretty much everyone. It's really not like making the Harrier take off like 2 minutes, 1 minute slower. It's not going to solve everything. The Harrier is still going to
Right.
kick
And
ass.
that's why I say you just defuel them at spawn. You know,
I mean,
what's the average Harrier player gonna frickin' load for fuel? Do you know?
I mean, I don't know.
If the average Harrier player is gonna load, say, 50% for fuel, put them at 20.
But
Hey, you can take off, but you ain't gonna have much gas. You know.
Yeah, well, the MiG-21 also has a crazy like startup time, and you know, a MiG-21, I don't know, maybe with R-73s could, you know, maybe put the Harriers at bay. I mean, it's just a simple thought than like this stupid takeoff rule, which just like does so much more harm than it does good. I mean,
right, and my only beef with the takeoff rule, for a balance factor, is the fact that it makes you sit stationary in some aircraft, mainly helicopters that have skids, because I guess I've never tried to lift off a foot and fly away, you know, and taxi, but it just, I don't know, I don't like that whole, I don't like that. And then because when you're under attack, you're trying to get off and get on in the air. Like me, I'm bullheaded. If people are attacking a FARP, I'm going to continue to just keep spawning there. I don't care, because that's part of my fun for me, is to see if I can get off the ground and get away. You know, and eventually they're going to run out of ammo or gas, and they're going to have to leave. You know, so whatever.
I would also want spawns to be able to be closer, because, well, like, just hear me out. Like, currently on contention, there are spawns on Corsair for the SU-27. So I'm assuming for the 4th gen fighters. When last night, Red had like, you know, Corsair, Shayrat, TS, you know, those 3 like airfields.
Yeah.
And we also had Hama, and we had Basel. I think that's how it's pronounced. Like, we had all those like airfields, but we still have to spawn at Beirut, and the Hornets still have to spawn at like either like Inchkirk or whatever, which is in Turkey.
Yeah, like the Tomcat and the F-15, they got to spawn at Abu al-Duhar on the current iteration. You can't spawn at Hama even if you own it. Even though the slotting shows that it's available there, you can't. And I don't know, maybe if you're pushed so far forward, it'll let you spawn at Hama. I'm not sure, but
like at some point there, you should be able to spawn
a question for Scar.
Like at some point you should. Yeah, I mean, I talked to him about it, but
yeah.
I mean,
yeah, that'd be a question for Scar. He's down in the audience right now to see when it's available to spawn at these closer locations. You know what I mean? I mean, and a lot of the frustrations that come to just us, you know, like average, you know, consumers of content here. I don't want to call us average players. Like me, I call myself an average player, but I don't want to, you know, put words into anybody else's mouth. And a lot of our frustrations might come in also due to, well, why the F is this, like that, without any decent sort of explanation going on. I mean, without having to like read in depth and thoroughly through an entire, Discord thread or something to find the answer. Spend hours reading through a Discord thread to jump on a server to find out why you can't spawn in Hama when it's a location that's shown,
I also want to. I want to quickly mention. I read something in the chat from Triangle Pilot. Like, without it, the complaining spam is very high. And this is something I just want to say to like server owners: is like, stop like listening to just like meta gamer like cry posters. Like, so many people just have like such stupid opinions. And I honestly think most people just have stupid opinions. So, like, just because like people are just like crying or whatever, like, because like, oh no, the Harrier's overpowered, like, that's a stupid opinion. And if like the Harrier, it's so like toxic or overpowered, I don't know, nerf its loadout or something, or like, I don't know, make it not able to spawn a FARP. I mean, it shouldn't be too much of a stretch considering we have to spawn at goddamn Beirut when like we have like. When we have Al Qasir and Hammam, which are like 200 kilometers in front of us, we still can't spawn there.
I guess I personally wouldn't have the Harrier spawning at FARPs, but for it to be able to land there, rearm, refuel, why not? But the initial spawn, I guess I never realized that you could actually spawn one at a FARP. But
the takeoff rule just really triggers me.
Yeah. Kind of triggers me too, but whatever. It's these are rules that the server owners and the server makers are attempting to use for balance. They might piss us off, but we still love the servers that we're playing on, and that's why we play on them, and that's why we care enough to bitch about certain rules. If we didn't like the server, we just discontinue playing on it and not say a word about anything to do with the with any of the mechanics or rules that they might have in place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
So, I mean, and I know it's got to get extremely frustrating to these guys too. The ones that moderate it, the ones that work on it, the ones that own it. All the bitching, pissing, and moaning and whining that comes from myself, you, frickin' just the entire community. You know what I mean?
Oh, so, yeah.
I mean, I get that aspect too, but to all those server owners and server makers, I commend you. I don't know how to do it. I don't want to take the time to learn to do it. I mean, I'm sure I could. But if you see me playing on your servers all the time, regardless of how much I might bitch about them, just know that I love your server anyway, or otherwise I wouldn't be playing on it. So,
that's fair.
And all my bitches and complaints are literally, just trying to make the server better. And I just can't play on the Coop server right now unless they get rid of that point system, because I just find it insanely ridiculous. They hinder any real utility helicopter gameplay by having their point system. Here's 10 points when you start out. Everything costs 25. Have a nice day.
I haven't played on Coop.
You know what I mean? Just get rid of the point system. If you're going to have a point system for something like that for balance, in my opinion, I'm going to just throw this out there for the Coop server. If you're going to have the point system for something like that, use the point system for being able to buy yourself more lives.
Yeah,
not hinder the gameplay, but buy yourself more lives with it. So the better the player you are, the more lives you're going to be able to buy for yourself. Instead of having 4 every 6 hours, it costs you 100 points to buy your life back when you're out of your 4 lives. Bing, boom, done. So
one comment is the problem with this level of discussion is that it often takes. He says often the server owners like balance a lot of like different perspectives. I mean, like I know I was told that like contention in particular is like it's more so balanced off like vibe. Like literally I got the word vibes than like anything else.
Right.
Which is like I mean obviously yeah I can understand considering like F16 Mantra 1000 are like on red or else the server would just like not exist though. I mean I still find it funny how like other things like I mean like aimline M like it's kind of a triggering missile. But
because it has well you gotta remember the what is that, the R73? Is that the short range?
R73.
Yeah, because I always get confused between the 73 or 27, which one's the long range, which one's the short range. But the R73...
It's a stretch to call the R27 long range.
Use the R27ER then.
It's not on the server.
Oh, it's
that would
not?
be that would be way too broken.
Oh, I didn't even realize it was that long range of a missile.
I think the R27ER is the best Fox 1 missile in the world. Because, you know, we move over the AMRAMs.
But after reading about the R73, that was actually the first front or all aspect air-to-air missile that was built and put into service, to be honest, if I remember right.
It wasn't the first. There was there's always radar missiles, but like the first, I mean, for heat seeking, they had the R23T.
Yeah, that's what I mean for the all aspect, basically sidewinder type missile.
No, the R23T was an infrared missile as well. That was like 70s. It's although that's only the MiG-23 carries it. Like
was that all aspect?
Yeah.
Or just rear aspect?
Yeah, it is. The R23T. It's like a 70s missile carried by the
MiG-23. Who knows? Maybe I read the R23T then. It was like late 60s, early 70s that it was made in any case.
The R73 was like, I mean, combined with the 40G overload in like the early 80s with the helmet mounted display, that was like a major like win by the Soviet Union in terms of technology. That was like that was like one of the few like advantages they had like during the Cold War, like full technological advantages. So because there's kind of like a problem, you know, because like R73 versus AIM-9L, like people would cry like the AIM-9L was so much worse than the R73, which I mean I honestly disagree, but like there's the AIM-9M, which like the AIM-9M is kind of like really strong because it's like smokeless. It's like it's nearly invisible unless you're like hyper zoomed in on the guy.
Right.
But like I was mentioning the R73 earlier.
True statement. Well, unless I think it's about time to wrap this up. We've been going an hour and a half, and I think we're kind of running out of things to say at this point because we're starting to get a little off topic now. We'll try and stay a little more on topic next time. I was almost about to change this to the F4 Phantom fiasco instead of balancing a PvP server. Just because it was the new hot topic, you know, it's just like, well, maybe I should change it to that. But no, I decided to stick with this. And I appreciate everybody that's watched. I appreciate you, Cold Claws, for jumping in here and talking. I appreciate having an Enigma on. That was great to have Enigma on. He should know, if he doesn't already know, that a lot of people in the DCS community really respect what he has to say, especially when it comes to server type stuff, because he has been doing it and successfully for a couple of years now, and maintaining that success. Is it dying down a little bit? Yep, but I'm sure it'll pick back up again. You know what I mean? Just everybody's like, we were talking earlier, that, you know, you can only play so many hours on the same server before you start getting bored with it. So and I've got a lot of hours into rotor heads. I've got a lot of hours into enigmas. My God, I'm getting a lot of hours into contention already, but all of them are fun, you know, and hours in single player, not a whole lot. I played probably my first month of gameplay in single player, just enough to get decent at taking off and landing in the Huey, and then I jumped right into multiplayer because single player just gets really boring for me in a hurry. So that's why you'll see me learning most of my aircraft and stuff in a multiplayer server instead of just jumping in a single player environment and learning it that way, because I just find it extremely dull and I get bored with it very rapidly. I'm done within 15 minutes, you know? So there's that. I gotta have the human interaction, even though there's a lot of times you're not even talking to anybody. You're just kind of flying around doing your own thing anyway. But a lot of times I do jump in the PvE servers to learn this stuff. But when it comes to my thought process is, when it comes to air-to-air combat, there is no better way to learn air-to-air combat than just jumping right into a PvP server and going for it. If I want to learn how to use harms, I want to learn how to do air to, you know, do my air-to-ground bombing in the Tomcat or the F-16 or whatever, or the Harrier, yeah, I'll go jump in a PvE server for that. But if it's gonna be that, then air to air, I might as well be in a PvP environment where I get shot down a shit ton and wonder why, you know, and then just have to learn why. And in the helicopter single player, that's what I was saying. Probably for about the first month in 2022, from like October to November or so. It was about the only single player I did, and I played, what the hell is that? I always forget the name of those campaigns that you buy. What's that good one? The one with the Marianas, on the Marianas for the Huey. So with that, everybody, I'd like to thank everybody once more for stopping in. Like everybody's opinions, like hearing from everybody. I like how everybody kind of stuck around there. Hopefully I just get better and better and better at this, so that I can make things more and more and more interesting for everybody. And with that, I've got nothing more to say. You got anything, Cold Claws, before I sign us off?
I have nothing.
Roger that. With that being said, Streaker 6 is